Hello, everybody. We are here today with Ludger Philips, again with Anima channel. Today, we would like to speak about Dattatreya because you, Ludger, has a special connection with the principle of Dattatreya, and you have spent a lot of time studying and researching about Dattatreya. Can you explain a little bit to us who is Dattatreya?
Yes, in very simple words, it is the unity of the Trinity. Dattatreya is always depicted with three heads, a god with three heads, and this is symbolic for the creator. This is one head, the maintainer, this is the other head, and the third head is the dissolver, the destroyer at the end, or in Indian terminology, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. And all three together, this is Dattatreya. So the principle of unity of the three stages, and symbolic with this person with the three heads.
Can you explain a little bit how did you came in contact with this figure or principle of Dattatreya?
Yes, it is quite a while ago. It was in the early 80s and 81, end of 81 or beginning of 82. I was at that time meditation teacher in the transcendental meditation system. I had done just my exams. I did first for a high school teacher and also for a master in philosophy. And I'd finished it, and then I was working in the headquarters of the transcendental meditation movement in the little library there. And there I got a book, a German book with the title, Satya Sai Baba, the Avatar of Our Time. I read the book and I was most deeply touched by it. There were very strong statements in this book. To give you an idea about it, Sai Baba said, I am everything that is there, all that can be realized, everything which strives to fulfillment. I move in space, penetrate everything. I appear as the form. With the help of my own power of illusion, I created the world for my joy. And other statements is that he is all and everything, and I am the one God who hears all the prayers which are coming from human hearts in all languages, all countries, and I maintain all the worlds. This was quite strong. I was in a way a bit shocked when I heard these statements, and I thought, wow, what is this person who does such statements? I got some other books about him. I read about miracles, what he was doing, that millions of people were coming to his ashram in India, and I was very much fascinated about it. Around that time, there was at a seminar in this headquarters of the TM movement. There was a couple, a husband and a lady, and they had two children, young children. And this lady came and said, we know each other. I said, well, interesting. I don't remember. Yes, we met in a past life in France. I thought, is she crazy? I turned the subject to the book which I was just reading there. I spoke to her about Satya Sai Baba, the Avatar of the Age. I told her about him doing miracles and some of the statements there, just fresh away. And she said, wow. And she was very much fascinated hearing this. And she read the book, and she then decided, I want to go to India and I want to see Satya Sai Baba there. She got, this was in June 82. She had got a ticket. She flew to Bombay. And when you arrive in Bombay, there's an international airport and a national airport. And she didn't speak English well. She went from the international airport to the national airport, but she thought that her luggage would be taken from one airport to the other. But there was nothing at the national airport. So she went back to the international airport, and on arrival, she noticed that the luggage was transported back to Germany. She was in a state of shock. She had just a little handbag with her and could not really speak well. And she had the ticket. She went back to the national airport in a state of despair. This story, she wrote me in a letter from India, what happened there. And I got 3 letters from her from India. This was the first one. And she told me that in this state of despair, she cried for help. And suddenly, Sai Baba manifested in the airport for her. He came in the office dress of an airport official, but with his hair and he said to her, "Why fear when I am here? I will take care of everything." He took her passport and ticket and guided her through the check-in to the plane and said, "Everything will be taken care of." She went into the plane. There were 2 Mexican ladies with the big suitcases and clothes, and they took her like her mother and gave her clothes, organized the journey to Pitapuram, the place where Sai Baba was living, and there she experienced a lot of miracles. And she wrote me in the second letter about these miracles. I thought, my God, very interesting. And then in the third letter, she said, "Oh, I had a talk, an interview with Sai Baba. I will tell you on return about this interview." It came so that I had to pick her up at the airport in Frankfurt. So it was a 3 hours drive down. And we went out of the airport and passed Frankfurt on a field. She told me the story that in this interview, Sai Baba told her, "There's a new husband coming. You will have a son and a daughter, not more. This is not good for you." And she heard or thought that I am the new husband. And she told me this. And what should I do with this? I felt, it cannot be right. But I had read and was convinced this is the avatar of the age, and he knows everything, and this must be true. And I believed when he says something, this must be true. And I got into a very heavy crisis. I left together with her the TM movement. I left my job and my activity there. We went to my parents' house and to the holiday house. We wanted to come to know each other. Then when we should marry, she was ready to leave her family at home, the children with her husband. We didn't sleep together. We didn't have sex together, nothing. After a few days, she said, "Oh, Sai Baba must have meant everything differently." I didn't understand. I said, "Yes, I think it's good. Today she wants to return to her family." I said, "That's good, dear." There was a friend of mine in my hometown, Rudolf by name, and he had always tried to convince me about the books of Alice Bailey and Secret Doctrine. I was a TM teacher. I wasn't interested in it. But he happened to come to the home of my parents when I returned. And he, in a way, did a play with him, her and the husband, when the husband picked her up, and that they flew from the home, our home there. And he then told me, I now initiate you in secret doctrine and the wisdom teaching. This is the real path. Sai Baba is a glamoured third degree initiate, and he does some magic, but he is not what he is speaking about himself. And then Rudolf introduced me into secret doctrine, let me sign a paper of being received and accepted to study the secret doctrine. And then he went away. I was more confused. I decided to stop the contact with him. I broke contact and I decided to go to India. I wanted to speak to Satya Sai Baba. And it was in August by then, or September already, that I flew alone to Bangalore. Nothing happened. The way, very normal problems. I arrived at the ashram. Plenty of people were there. The next morning, there was darshan, and with the meaning Sai Baba coming and blessing the people outside. I happened to be put into the second row, very close. I had a letter with me with all my questions. What did you say? And what is it, this whole story with you? And all that was coming up inside. And Sai Baba took the letter immediately. He stood in front of me, and I could even touch his feet. And then he went on with a bunch of letters in his hand. And then I thought, okay, everything will be explained, everything will be fine. Nothing was fine. I fell into a very severe crisis there. And I had some friends helping me, stabilize me. The time there was like hell. I had a few experiences with Sai Baba, like suddenly light be put into light and all the clouds being away. But then again, I was in my chaos mood. And I flew back. It was a very difficult journey. And I had no answers to my questions when I was back. When I told this to this lady, she said, "This is not possible. This is the avatar. Everything he says is true." And I said, so what? My experiences were not so nice. It were very heavy.
This encounter with Sai Baba was like the first information that you had about the principle of Dattatreya.
Yes.
But I'm sure that later you started to study more and do your research, and you find something else that maybe it was some disciples or initiates that were touched
Yes.
by Dattatreya principle, and that there is behind something else. Can you explain how it followed your research?
Yes. This Rudolf had told me about the books of Alice Bailey. And there were things about avatars in the book. I bought a number of books from Bailey. I decided to inscribe myself in the school program of the Arcane School. I did the full curriculum of the years, became secretary of Arcane School in the 80s later. And I read very much of Alice Bailey. And there I searched about avatars and who and what is avatars. I got a certain understanding, but it did not match with what I had experienced and what Sai Baba said. It was different. And instead of clearing my understanding, I got more questions. Especially, Sai Baba never mentioned anything about the spiritual hierarchies, the masters of wisdom. He was speaking, I am everything and all the dimensions and the totality of existence. But in the books, and also before, when I was in the TM movement, I had read about the great sages and the saints and the masters of wisdom. and I couldn't make the bridge to this. Towards the end of '82, I came into contact with a lady who was has also been with or was felt affiliated with Satya Sai Baba, but she was working in a kindergarten of Rudolf Steiner school, and she told me how she got from the philosophy of Rudolf Steiner an understanding of all these dimensions with a theosophical background. And she told me that it would be good if I, who was in search of my path and what to do, that I would become a teacher in a Rudolf Steiner school. We had long talks together, and I got new ideas, new perspectives, and there was this center of all the philosophy, the Christ and the cosmic Christ. And the lady had certain understanding to put the avatars into this context. And I decided to become a teacher of the Rudolf Steiner School. I was accepted for the teacher training formation, and I did this in '83, '84. And then later, also, I became a teacher in a Rudolf Steiner School, a language teacher in Switzerland. And I met my wife in the Sai Baba movement. I studied the books of Alice Bailey. I studied many, many books of Rudolf Steiner. And I discovered that I could not put the systems together. I read more, went into all different spiritual directions. And instead of my confusion becoming smaller, it increased. More questions. The more I was studying, the more questions came up. And I went with my wife after our marriage, February '88. In April, we went to India, to Satya Sai Baba. And there in Bangalore, in Whitefield, there were many people around, but one day, Sai Baba called me to an interview. My wife came with me, and there were in a room, maybe 20, 25 persons together. And I saw from very close how he was materializing a ring for one person, manifesting vibhuti, the sacred ash, out of his hand. There was no trick. I could observe it very close by. And it came out of his hand and not from anywhere else. And then he took my hand, he took my ring, the marriage ring, and he turned it around 3 times. And I thought, what will he do now? And then he said, many misunderstandings. This was everything, he said. But in a way, it was a clue for me. And things dissolved, for which I tried to understand, and the contradiction. So maybe there were many misunderstandings. We followed Sai Baba into the Nilagiris, Uti. We didn't know that later my path would also come across the Nilagiris and the avatar of synthesis. But this was later, years later. At that time, '88, the questions were not solved. The situation also in the Rudolf Steiner school became very complicated. In '89, in the crisis there, I decided to leave 1 year later the Rudolf Steiner school. I left end of '89 the Sai Baba movement, and mid-1990 I left also the Aken school. All these movements I left, and I tried to sort out my mind. I left I was in other movements as well, in touch with the Cypriot initiate, and this I left also in the same year. My wife and me, we went away from all these schools to center on a path with the wisdom teachings and from Alice Bailey, the Tibetan master, and the Agni Yoga trainings.
Up to this point, you felt, or even Sai Baba told you that you have been walking a path of confusion or misunderstanding, and at which point you see that there was more light or more understanding in this path to comprehend Dattatreya and also the path itself that you was walking?
Took a long time. I was very intensely going into the wisdom teachings of the theosophical tradition, especially Alice Bailey and Agni Yoga. But I heard already before about an Indian coming to Europe. I even got books from Master K, and then I heard about Master Kumar, but I did not quickly go there. It took years until I met him the first time, but I was still in this movement, in this group, spiritual group, where I stayed for 10 years until 2000. And in 2000, I left or was thrown out of this group, but it was at the direct week afterwards, I was at a seminar with Master Kumar, and Master Kumar very warmly welcomed me, and he invited me he would go to South America for a celebration, they call there, and would return afterwards. We would meet in Zurich. And he invited me to a talk in Zurich at Jesus and Tiziana's home, who had accompanied him on the tour. And there he immediately started speaking about Sai Baba and his relation to Sai Baba, told stories about him, and spoke about him as the avatar and as a very saintly person, although he also said that he is not a devotee, but he very jokingly and joyfully told stories about Sai Baba. And he gave me a very, very warm welcome, to me, inviting to come to India. And at the end of 2000 to 2001, I went to India. The first time to Sai Baba, not after Sai Baba time, first time to Vishakhapatnam, to the World Gita Trust there. And at the end of the seminar, there is a Guru Puja celebration. And in this Guru Puja celebration, a book on Dattatreya was published, which Master had written. It was a surprise. And there, the Master was explaining about Dattatreya in a nearly mathematical way. He showed a triangle with a point and a circle around being the symbol of Dattatreya. He gave other symbols of the Descartes, the Tetractys of Pythagoras, inside the triangle with the points and the Descartes, like this, to meditate upon these symbols to link to Lord Dattatreya. When I came the next time to India, and these symbols symbolize the different layers of creation, from existence, the expression of awareness, from this existence, awareness, thought coming out, and then manifesting in objectivity, thought and action, existence, awareness, thought and action. And he explained very well the meaning and depth of the symbolism of Dattatreya. When I come back to India the next time, to Vishakhapatnam, I wanted to have a statue of Dattatreya, and the Navanitam, the secretary and assistant of Master Kumar, gave me a gift of a statue of Lord Dattatreya, which I now have also in my apartment. I was very much touched by this. Later, I started pondering deeper on the symbolism of the Tetractys, and I started doing paintings with symbolism of the World Mother and the stages of creation coming down into manifestation, and Dattatreya as a symbol of this. I first put in the first form of this painting, not Vishnu in the center, but later in this year, I felt Dattatreya should be put there in the center of this Tetractys. And then I did another painting. This was all done in 2011 with Dattatreya in the cosmic dimension. So the tree of life, the symbolism of the triangle with a point and the circle around, and the figure of Dattatreya behind. And every time when I came to India, I saw Master Kumar conducting rituals with this Dattatreya statue. They were singing hymns and they were pouring water over this statue. And this also impressed me very much. I felt much attracted from this ritualistic approach, although I must say, I didn't really understand what is the meaning of this. Why do they do all these rituals? I observed. I saw also other rituals, long rituals going on. I felt attracted, but it was not a way which I could practice at home. And so it was for India nice to see, but at home it was again a way.
And at which point you decided to, for example, to compose the website about the Sripada, also on a special section in the World Teacher Trust website, and also translating the book of the incarnation of Dattatreya, Sripada? In which moment all this content and all this way to show to the public what is Dattatreya, in which moment of this story all this came?
It took a little bit more time until I came there. When in 2014, I had been thrown out of my job at the time. I was free. I decided at the moment to devote myself totally to World Teacher Trust. Our financial situation was well established. It came about that we can live for free, so I decided to devote myself totally to the teachings and the World Teacher Trust. In this time, I met by a mail contact a lady who first taught me things about that at her home, Maitreya and other masters were manifesting in Chennai. And I thought, is she crazy again? A story? And I said, oh, nice, but I didn't know what to do with it. We had a certain exchange, and then she disappeared again until October, 24th of October, 2014. There she wrote me a letter asking, have you heard about the name Sripada Srivallabha? Is there any book in German about Sripada? And are you able to translate a book? I looked in Amazon and on the web. I didn't find anything about Sripada. I thought that about what could it be. I didn't know about anything about him. I searched in Wikipedia, and so no answer at that time. And then I wrote back, I haven't heard anything about it. I do not know if there's any book, and I might be able to translate a book. I've done so with other books, but I don't know if I should do it. So I didn't want to accept an offer coming just like this. But in the afternoon, when I did a walk with my wife through the nearby forest, there came an energy wave suddenly uplifting me, and I was totally astonished what came there along the way. And I felt inwardly, and I immediately told my wife, I feel that I should not say no to this offer of translation. I came home, I wrote an email to Master Kumar, asking him, I'd been asked to translate a book of Sripada, should I do this translation? And he answered in a short sentence, read the book first. I didn't have the book. I searched the web for the book for a PDF version. I found one on a very dubious website. I didn't want to buy there. Later, I found a script. I downloaded. The lady from India who had asked me said she will get me the book and give it in India to me when I come to Bangalore end of the year. I got this book. And I first had the PDF. I read it. She had told me there's a story that this book would be published in German in later centuries. And I was first for going out in German. But when I read this manuscript, these books which I downloaded, there was not one word about Germany in it. She said this is not possible in the Telugu version or in her version there. It says about this story with a German coming to Sripada and Sripada saying that this book would be translated to German in later centuries. And she told me they had tried to send 25 books to the German embassy in Delhi so that they find somebody for translation of the book. They didn't receive any answer from there. And when I read the book, I was much fascinated. It was difficult. It was many expressions which I didn't understand. And when I came to India and got the books there in Bangalore, I saw the story is not in there. I came to know a little later that people had published a book but extracted about 60 pages in the official total publication, but it was not. And when I came to Visakhapatnam, I wanted to go to this birthplace of Pitapuram, and I didn't find time during the plan. I wanted to follow the seminar of the master. But on arrival, master said, you will go with the entire group to the birthplace. Already before, it came to my mind that the year ago in January, when I came to India, master had said, the next day you will go to Rajamundry. On the way, you will stop at a temple. I saw this all in my notes, which I had quickly written at that time, but I had forgotten first, that you will stop at the temple of, I didn't understand the name, and there you can buy a book about this Dattatreya avatar, and everybody who can read English should read this book. The bus came too late. The bus did not go to this temple. And when we went to Rajamundry, I thought, oh, I would like to go there, but no way. The bus just went through to Rajamundry. But 1 year later, the whole group went to Pitapuram, and then I got incredible help for the translation, which I didn't expect. I met at the Guru Puja a person saying, his father comes from Pitapuram, but he doesn't know Sripada, but he will help me. I knew him he had studied in Munich. I met him again at different occasions. And then now he said, I help you with all the questions concerning the book. And he did a great job of finding answers for me in the translation. And then this way, I did start with the translation, but there was no good English version. Within 2 weeks after return from India, I got from two sites, different sites, each time another English translation of the book. I found this is very strange. I didn't ask for, they came. And I was informed, this is in translation and this is translation. And in both these English versions, there was a story about this book being translated to German, a German coming to Sripada, and he said, in later centuries, this book will be translated to German. I thought, wow, this sounds interesting. And so I started translating. And so I came deeper and deeper into the mystery. But there were some other information as well, which I got in this time. On the one hand, I heard that Master Kumar in the 80s already, in the 90s, in 1994, at a Guru Puja, before also, there was a man coming to him from northern India, Bhaktaraj Maharaj. Many who had been there at that time know him. He's a very great person. Sripada, Master Kumar presented him as an avatar of Lord Dattatreya. And on the stage of the Guru Puja, there was another person, Vishwaguru Viswamji. And Master presented him as an avatar of Dattatreya. And he gave a talk explaining about avatars of Dattatreya. But I read it much later only. And I thought, how many avatars are there around and who is an avatar? In 2013, 1213, New Year, I was in Mysore. There was an avatar of Dattatreya who was said to be the Swami Ganapati. I heard of other avatars of Dattatreya. My God, who and what is there around? And I heard that there were 16 incarnations of Dattatreya. I got a picture with 16 incarnations in past ages. And then in this time of the Dark Age, there were said to be 3 great incarnations. The first one was the Sripada Srivallabha, which I liked very much. He is a very playful one and very joking with people and playing tricks and jokes. And the whole book was written like a road movie. And the adventures of the author, Shankar Bhatt, on his way, also with a skeptical view and having experiences on his way, crazy experiences. And it was really fun to read and to translate the book for me. But then also the next incarnation, Narasimha Saraswati, he lived, and this is well known, also per the dates, about 100 years later, for 80 years. And then he didn't die. He just said, I go away to meditate for some centuries. And he appeared again in public in the 19th century. This is well known, Swami Samadh or Akalkot Maharaj. And these persons are historically known, and around them happened incredible miracles. And there was a way of working with the people, mind-blowing. All this in the West, not known. All this blocked out. But Blavatsky must have known about it, about there were theosophists going to Swami Samadh. It is published in a newspaper published by Blavatsky, a little article about this I later found out. And when I was in India, I had heard from Sai Baba before that one great avatar, his previous incarnation, would have been Shirdi Sai Baba. And now, again, the Shirdi Sai Baba came in the books. But how to categorize who is who? And I felt I cannot. I could read what was said, but I could not put the things together, really. And also after translating the book. And I asked also questions to the master. Master said, when I was about to finish the German translation, he was invited to give a seminar in Germany, in Billerbeck, northern Germany, to speak in a seminar about Lord Dattatreya. And at this, he said, ask your questions at this meeting. Before, he said, there are things in the book which are considered not to be right. I thought, my God, in the book it says everything is right and everything perfect there. But now Master explains things that you should be careful with this. And he wanted to take out things from the book. I told him, there will be discussions when you take out things of the book. And it is better to explain things in footnotes. So I extracted all the pages which should be added with footnotes there. And Master said he had given already a foreword. He said, I give a new foreword. And he gave it on 4th of August 2016. And in this foreword, which is now in the German and in the English version of the book, he explains a bit about this situation there. And he left it open to the people to decide themselves what is right and what is wrong, or what they can accept and what they cannot accept at the soul.
You said two things. One is the word mystery. And
Yes.
the other is that Dattatreya is not known in the West.
Yes.
So I don't know if you can link these two aspects, the mystery of the principle of Dattatreya, and how is it so occult or unknown for the West?
Yes. In what Master explained, I asked him, and he said, when I asked him about why he did not teach in his book about Dattatreya anything about the avatars of Dattatreya. And he wrote back, the West cannot understand. And I found it interesting. Why can the West not understand Dattatreya? And then he said that Dattatreya, the path of Dattatreya is not a path as such. It can give instantaneous enlightenment when there's the devotion and the orientation. And it leads beyond the mind. It is not accessible to the mind. The work of the avatars of Dattatreya cannot be understood mentally. It can be experienced, but not understood. But the West wants to understand step by step, and therefore we follow the teachings of hierarchy and of the world teacher, Maitreya, and therefore we follow the path of Maitreya, where everything is explained step by step in minutest details. But finally, also on this path, you have to transcend the mind and get to experience. And so he said both meet in experience, the experience of the divine, and both lead to this experience of the divine. In the West, which is very intellect-oriented, so-called scientific, and what cannot be understood with the mind is put off. This I had already experienced in my study of philosophy, where I tried to bring in certain concepts from the East of experience, and that we cannot get it with the mind. I told my professor, where I wanted to do a PhD, which he refused later, and he said, when we cannot speak about it, not understand, we can only blink with our eyes, and we cannot do any philosophy. And this is not possible. We must be able to understand, and otherwise we cannot accept. And this I felt in many areas, that in the East they go by experience, and the way of meditation is a way of experiencing. But the way of intellect, of systematic elimination in science, what is right, what is wrong, and what is probably in theories. And so this is not able to deal with such things which happen around incarnations of Dattatreya. They are totally different. And it seemed to me that it is it is put away from the understanding here of the people in the West. And they often also refuse. And when they come across such beings, I have experienced it with the Sripada book. For many people, they say, so what? No interest. And they are not attracted by this. This is, of course, their individual path, but also blank through saying it's not possible.
Coming back to your story, to your link with Dattatreya, if you look backwards to your life and all you explain, you came across to the figure of Dattatreya when you was following the path or the encounters with Sai Baba, later the Arkan School, later Anthroposophy, Agni School, World Teacher Trust. You see it like a circle that it's close, it's like a line. It's something already missing in what all this story that you want to complete in this. I don't know if it's a line or a circle for you.
I would prefer a spiral. When you speak about this, it is not a closed story at all. And my main approach in my life, of course, meditation, but it is also art and artwork. And on this path, I had some steps and also going beyond my mind. I met an artist in January 2012. He just had come to Vishakhapatnam because he brought there the statue of Masasivivi, which he had done. And I had an intense talk with him. So I'm there and said, wow, a very good work you did. And so when he told me that he had done many statues of great saints and beings, and he showed me them on his laptop. And I didn't know these figures, but they were well done in clay, modulated, and great life-size statues, artwork about saintly persons, which had a radiance in the clay and later in what he put on screen. They were like bringing over life energy of these electric realities. And he said, you can take, I told him I would like to blog about him. Yes, you can take all my photos. I had my stick and he copied all his photos of his own artworks on the stick and gave it to me. I went through, nice, but after I wrote the blog post, I forgot it. Later, when it came to the Sripada book, I opened this folder with this with his statues, and I said, my God, there is a statue of Sripada, very well done, small, and then a big one, how he executed, or the raw version, and then the final big statue, then of the next incarnation of Narasimha Saraswati, then two life-size and very intense statues of Swami Samadh. And these statues were radiating energy, like the CDV statue. People said, oh, why do they now put a statue there on the altar and so? But when you go inside to the reality behind the statue, the divine expressing through the statue, you can get into touch with energy via art, via the form. And this I experienced in the rituals. There was something manifesting through the rituals, through these forms in the statues there. And I got myself a little statue of Sripada. And I got a photo of another statue in New Jersey, which I used for creating the cover image of the Sripada book. And there always I saw through the statue, through the presence of this idol, there's shining something through when you meditate on it. And it is standing there in space, but there's some electricity around manifesting. And I was much fascinated by this artwork. And the most intense experience I had through such a statue was when, after I brought the German version of the ready printed Sripada book to the birthplace of Sripada in Pitapuram, we went with a group to the place where Sripada lived on an island in the Krishna River in Kuruvapuram. We were only there a very short moment. We came down in a basement. There was a statue of Sripada, and he said, it's strictly forbidden to take photos here. The others were standing around, and I took photos with the camera from my navel. And I felt I want to get this image of the statue there. It was so radiant. We sat down, meditated there, and boom, all were gone into a deep, deep trance-like state. And coming back after a while, I thought, my God, what is this presence here? It is incredible. All of us felt so thrilled of this presence there. It came not from a human being. It was there in space, centered at this point. And this impressed me very much. And later, I observed Master from another angle like this. I saw but Master then also published the English book. First, he didn't want to bring it out, but through the books also came. And this I experienced radiance energies. Master told me it is enough, and it's written also in the book. If you have the book in the room, the energy is there in the book. The words is impregnated, compact in the book. And he gave me some books in Telugu also once, which I said, Master, I cannot read it all. Keep them in the room. It is energy. You need not understand, you need not read, but keep the book there as energy. And when in this last year, 2022, after Corona slowly came down, there was again a celebration in Bangalore, Maycall, a public Maycall celebration. It was the last one with Master. It was I could only go there very short. But when I was there, I saw Master inaugurated a beautiful big Dattatreya statue in Bangalore during the Maycall. And they conducted a long ritual there. And he said, I installed 3 Dattatreya statues in my life. I had seen other statues in the Vajita Trust, at the Healing Center in Ramatri, and then in the Nilagiris, a Dattatreya statue and other places. But he said, I installed 3. And this was the second one, which he did in Bangalore. One was in Visakhapatnam, then in Bangalore. And then he went to Mysore directly afterwards, where he again installed the Dattatreya statue. And he talked about this during the Maycall. He said, you have to be very pure to conduct rituals and to keep up the rhythm of doing rituals with these statues. So to keep them vibrant and radiant. And while they were installing the statue and decorating the statue, on the one side of the hall, on the other side, there was a Dattatreya fire ritual on the other side, where they were throwing into the fire leaves from the sacred Audumbara tree. I had read a lot about the Audumbara tree before in the Sripada book. I got seeds from the Audumbara tree, which a friend of mine got sprouted, so that there were many Audumbara trees distributed there in Germany. I have here one standing in my room. And this was also a mystery. He said, so this tree radiates the energy of Dattatreya. And in a way, I link to this now. And with the ritual I observed at the Maycall, I all the group there was so much thrilled through this presence of the energy. And Master was conducting, or with another person doing most of the physical conduction, but installed the statue there. And that there is a presence anchored, which keeps the energy vital there. And I felt already before, but more so after returning, that I approach in my own ways. I do rituals my own way. There's no specific path of Dattatreya. You have to create your own path. And so I designed also my way of linking to Dattatreya through my orientation, through my daily orientation, reading a bit in the Sripada book. I have a study group reading the Sripada book, and they have now wanted to read the third time the book, which we read also something about the next incarnations. And it is very a magical energy there. It is not all that who feel this energy. Many do not feel anything, but others are touched to the core by this reality. And the beginning of this month, I again felt I wanted to express this in a painting and in a way to bring to a synthesis my understanding. And I took a statue which I have here. I took photos from the statue. I fused them with a globe. I wanted to paint the mystery of the dog star. The dog star, Sirius, is said to be the origin of Dattatreya, the seat of Dattatreya. And the energy of Dattatreya comes via Regulus, a star in the Leo constellation, down over different stages to the Earth, manifesting here also in the form of Dattatreya. And this is exactly the same pathway as described as the pathway the avatar of synthesis down through the Halley's Comet has taken, which was received by Master CVV. Both energies come from the same source, but have a different quality, manifesting in a different form. One, for me, seems to be a mystical form, the mystery of Dattatreya, and the other, occult, Aquarian, Uranian energy, which is scientific, which is can be researched and understood. But it is both from this cosmic dimension. And Master explained that this is the principle of the cosmic teacher, which is represented on Earth by Lord Maitreya and by also physical incarnations of avatars of Dattatreya. And Master also explained, and this was also in the Sripada book, that there are many sparks of Dattatreya. There are a few main incarnations, mainly 3 main incarnations, but all these many different persons can be understood like sparks of Dattatreya coming out with it is said called in Sanskrit Amsa. They are Amsa avatars, partial manifestations of the energy. And this was a key for my understanding how all these many people who were said, this is an avatar, and this one, when you understand from one source of light, a brilliant light, then there are sparks going out and incarnating in different forms for certain purposes and uplifting the people. This gave me a lot of clarity. I even, when I came into touch with the Master and saw him talk about Sai Baba, I reconciled again, and I reconciled with the different elements in my life, which I could not have integrated before. All this came together in a deeper and more complex understanding. And it doesn't mean that I understand everything of the realities, not at all. But I do not feel any urge of that something is there which cannot which stands there and which keeps me searching for answers. it has become quiet. And the story which I'm telling here, it is like not an individual story. It is, for me, with thinking about it, and therefore I also speak about it, it is a wisdom story. It is a wisdom teachings, and it is a story in the way of a transformation. And so it is nothing private or personal, the story, but it is, people have similar experiences. I've seen in exchanges that this is not a unique experience. Many people go through similar phases of awakening. And what is important in all this is listen to your inner voice and be open to what you hear from the outside. Whatever comes, and use your discrimination to integrate. Even if you do not and are not able to integrate at the moment because it is contradictory, but this will clarify with the time when you seriously search for answers and you go through crisis on the path. This is very normal, but through the crisis you come to a deeper understanding. And this is what for me is the essence of this story of linking with Dattatreya and the greatness of this sublime reality of this cosmic teaching principle.
To come to a conclusion, for those who want to go deeper with more information about the principle of Dattatreya and Sripada incarnation, where can they go? Which websites, which books would you recommend?
I felt when I was translating the Sripada book, there was not really good explanation on the web possible because it was so Indian style and for me confused and full of terms with which I could not do anything. So I created a website which was given out by Master Kumar. It's a part of the Lord teachings, but on a standalone website, sripada-srivalabha.org. And there you find about Lord Dattatreya and about the avatars of Dattatreya, enough information. And also you can download Master Kumar's book and the book, the Sripada book, biography, for free as PDF versions. And you find also things in the beautiful little booklet of Master Kumar, which you find linked on the Sripada website, but you find also on the Vajitara's website. I did this website earlier to give explanations and find a place where you can find all the wisdom there together. And you find there in the teaching section a short text which says Lord Dattatreya. There you also get essential information extracted from the teachings of Master Kumar. And with these, you can get a profound understanding as much as you want, and maybe also the inspiration to link yourself to this sublime reality of Dattatreya.
Thank you very much, Ludger, for giving us the opportunity to feel, or at least having the inspiration and the aspiration to keep in contact with this energy and this spark of Dattatreya. Would you like to close with something else?
Yes. Master Kumar also gave mantras to relate to Dattatreya, and I will intonate 3 times the mantra which he had given. This once only the sound drum, and the other is Dram Dattatreya Namaha. Dram Dattatreya Namaha. Dram Dattatreya Namaha. So with this sound formula, you can link to the energies of Dattatreya.